understand how you can read all of Chomsky's books. You say you have 20 of his books, and you've done work with him for. You said you've done work with him for a long time, and that now you can say that he's some kind of agent for the state.
Well, I woke up. Okay, I interviewed him 3 times for TV, and what happened is when I read Rethinking Camelot by him, I saw, and I regret to say this, I know this is kind of a personal conversation, but yet it's on video and nothing's personal in the world anymore. But I saw that it was a dishonest book. There were contradictions in it, and there were actually bloody-minded statements about John F. Kennedy, really bloody-minded, like really nasty. And if you read Rethinking Camelot, you'll see that. And of course, then it ties in with him saying that it wouldn't matter who's president, because it's all structuralism, as per what Michael Parenti was saying. And I'm realizing that he's giving out seriously bogus arguments that are about tremendously important things. So why shouldn't he be criticized by name? What am I going to just say, Mr. X, and everybody try to guess who it is? I mean, I'm not going to do that. So I figure what I'm doing is fair ball.
Okay, and, I'm not willing... Because you had asked me to do the introduction of that book, and I declined because that chapter was in it.
Fair enough, I respected that.
And so I think that it's a better strategy for us as a movement addressing deep politics to not be necessarily criticizing people who are potentially, and certainly are, and not just potentially, major supporters, whether it's Amy Goodman or Noam Chomsky, or even Alexander Colburn, who I find pretty offensive sometimes in how he deals with 9/11.
Well, look, with 9/11, Peter, I think that it's very late in the game to say they're potential supporters. I mean, it's not...
No, but they support a lot of other issues that we need to address, not just... It's beyond 9/11.
But the thing is that people that I know in the 9/11 Truth Movement are at one with Amy Goodman and Alexander Colburn and Noam Chomsky on these other issues.
And I have talked...
Not a problem.
I have talked to each of those people, Matt included, Amy included. Amy said, "Yep, Building 7's a problem." And I don't know why she won't go beyond. She had David Ray on, and kind of that was a setup, and it was early on when he was. Yeah, she hasn't had him on since.
She's done virtually nothing about this. She said all this time.
True, she hasn't, and there's a lot. There's a lot of pressure. Certainly from funders, big foundations, and some of these groups are dependent upon those funds, and Institute of Policy Studies probably is too, to push aside 9/11, but they'll say also that 9/11 people in peace rallies and stuff get in your face and they yell at you and they're aggressive. There are people, it certainly happened to us in Washington.
Yeah. But also, who's to say that each and every one of those was authentic?
Or they're provocateurs. Exactly. We don't know. So that you have to have an overall strategy that tries to address that in an honest, open way, and not trying to be name calling in that process.
Can we hone in on this point exactly in terms of how to address disagreements and how to sort of conceptualize the difference between name calling and intellectual integrity and honesty amongst people, because maybe the
I got it.
Well, you're going to come in on this, Michael?
Yeah.
Well,
do you want to get in the middle?
Get a chair.
Well, you need some help, so I thought.
I need some help.
You both need some help here.
Do you want a chair?
Hey, give Michael a chair.
Yeah, give Michael here.
I get a chair too.
Whoa.
Okay.
Not name names.
It's impossible.
How can you be intellectually honest and not name names?
Chomsky wrote a book called 9/11. He entered the field hard.
Yeah,
and he slammed it.
And he said that there would be those who demand obedience.
But it was more of a struggle.
It was the first book
It's an
about
external
9/11.
enemy.
But it was, the chickens come home to roost kind of a response. Same thing you were saying.
It was the blowback thing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, could I just jump in on his question quickly? I know I've had my full share of what to say. Could we just...
I'm just here to give the whole panel a younger, fresher look.
Dapper.
You know how to hurt a guy. You know how to hurt a guy. So, no, I just thought it might be useful to make a certain distinction. And one is talking about how we operate in, say, in activist groups, peace groups, 9/11 truth groups, or whatever, where people are there personally, face to face, and so on. Is there name calling or whatever? And then there's the larger arena, which is where you're writing books. and so on. And of course, now the two are merging because of all this electric technology, where the tiniest thing can come out and live forever. But I do believe we should distinguish. So I agree with not name calling when we're face to face. That's not how democracy works. That should be ruled out. But on the other hand, we can write. And name names. I mean, all people have done it. Authors, novelists, intellectuals have been in great intellectual battles with using their real names.
If he had entitled that chapter, instead of The Shame of Noam Chomsky, if he had entitled it At Issue with Noam Chomsky, would that have been better, you think? Or
I
you
think
think
that
he
would
still
have
would
been
have
better
written
It might have been.
I think
Yeah.
it would have been.
Yeah, we have on the left, we have a left style. You could see it even among people who are in your camp when they get up to ask a question. Instead of saying, you covered a lot of territory, I really appreciate it. Could you also address the question? They will say, and it's all that one-upman ego stuff. I'm really surprised that you had never once mentioned that this and this. And this is after you've mentioned everything from Rome to the Spanish-American War to the White House to, whatever. And they'll say, so there's a way, they almost go out of their way to be divisive, to be one-upping, to be bruising. So there's a lot of ego garbage that comes into play here, and we should really develop a style. And I think that's the thing what you're saying, isn't it, Peter?
See that? I think that's not
And
only.
I don't think Barry's against that.
No, I'm not.
No.
No, I'm for.
I hate to get into a fight with him because he's a dirty, abrasive, hard-kicking. but generally, otherwise, I think he would agree.
You sent me
with
this really long email about something I'd written, and
Yeah.
I didn't respond to you
Yeah.
because I knew we'd be here and we'd have this conversation, because we really haven't had a chance to have a conversation
No,
since
that's right.
that time.
Well, the thing is that
I didn't know we were going to do it in front of television.
But you see, in your brief email, there was this back and forth going on in New England, and I believe your email was brief, and it was meant to be pacific and civilizing, and you were suggesting that we should be respectful and so on. But and I'd have to have the wording right here. But I answered at length that I thought the
It was
wording.
at length. And it was
But the wording was simple, but I believe it was kind of unintentionally deceptive on your part. The phrases you use, I wish we had it here in front of us, because it was suggesting that anybody, maybe not anybody,
It wasn't written to be a piece where you dissected every word and you wrote me back 1,000 words with definitions and all this stuff,
Yeah.
I was just simply saying, don't beat up on Noam Chomsky, and let's try to, because I do think we need to have alliances with the peace movement. And when we get in people's faces,
we are the peace movement.
well, we are and we aren't.
Their perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a peace center in our area has been very good about 9/11 issues and helped host speakers and stuff. But nationally and the internet action and answer, I don't think they really think of 9/11 as part of the strategy of where they want to go with these mass marches.
There's a number of issues that are beyond the pale. They're just not treated as legitimate. So there are people on the left who eschew those issues. And that includes Amy Goodman and Noam Chomsky and other people. On certain things. Like, for instance, there's also the issue of Yugoslavia and the destruction of Yugoslavia. I got attacked by people on the left who suddenly were standing shoulder to shoulder with NATO, with the White House, with the CIA, and saying this is a humanitarian good war and destroying the social democracy
And we
of
did too,
Yugoslavia. And
because we
Milosevic-
covered some of the stuff that were misinformation.
Right,
we got beat up bad.
You got attacked by guys like Don Hazen and Hazen and whatever.
Oh, you're naming names here.
Well, if he attacks, I assume we
Sure.
can name him.
Yeah.
He's standing by his attack. There are certain publications I can't get published in anymore. They just don't publish me. Your buddy Matt Rothschild, ask him. I heard from a third person that he loves my books and he reads my stuff. I said, "Are you sure?" He said, yes, that's what he said. But he doesn't publish me because of the legitimacy. I think he thinks I'm just too Marxist in my case and that sort of thing. So all those kind of things just.
But Matt,
come
I've
up.
talked to about 9/11. Amy, I've talked to about 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a reasonableness there that is open if we're not so sharp with our attacks on that.
That's absolutely right. There, I remember.
I don't think there's a reason why it's
I
there.
think-
I mean, I've heard so many.
Well, maybe
I've-
we've gotten beyond reasonableness with the 9/11 Truth movement in the intensity of it. And we've had our own intensities inside where we've been beating people up and the splits with the scholars and all that kind of stuff that went on. So, it's which I have tried to stay out of that.
That
that
certainly
for-
has
Oh,
been.
well, I've stayed out
That
of it
certainly
quite
has
a
been
bit
my
too, but-
experience. Every time I talked in the Q&A, somebody got up and wanted to know why I wasn't talking about 9/11.